Hello, future humans. I hope you find yourself safe, healthy, and happy. Hopefully, you are hearing to this many decades in the future if the internet is still a thing and podcasts are to you what VCR tapes to us. A wise man once said, and I quote, "Being alive during this modern era is great. Robots are creating artistic, soulless versions of people. I spent half my paycheck on rent and the other half on four blueberries, and I'm addicted to a little pocket computer that makes me sad every day." Fantastic. Don't let that aftertaste of sarcasm confuse you. These are, in fact, great times to be alive. Just seems things are getting worse, not better, as we hoped. My name is Angelina. I'm from the US, and I will be your host today as we explore how our generation feels about living in the moment, the struggles of our times, and what can we do to survive. With me, I have experts from different parts of the world to compare different perspectives. From Belgium, we have a philosopher named Jannis, an old man trapped inside a young person's body with deep thoughts and ideas to save the world. And from Kenya, a dreamer called Morgan, a fellow podcaster that has been scratching at the meaning of life many times over the mic. Hello, everyone. What afflicts you in this day and age?
Thank you for the introduction, Angelina. What afflicts us in this day and age? Too many things to list. But one thing that came to mind immediately was sort of the speed with which society is just going, and you just feel like you have to be there in the moment. You have to ride along at the same speed with all of the cars on the highway, let's say. So, and it doesn't seem to be very healthy for my mental health.
Mm-hmm. 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 Do you feel the same way, Morgan, that life is kind of going super fast, or you're like, life is so slow and I'm having a great time? Or, how are you feeling about it?
I feel life is moving at a fast forward, not even fast. Mm. Every day is Friday, and every day is Monday. The week ends so quickly. But the thing is, it has really affected how we interact, how we do things. Mentally, people are not prepared for how fast it was. Or personally, I'm not prepared for how fast things are moving. Sometimes you think you still have time. Within no time, you run out of it. So I think it's a really big challenging part where people were not prepared mentally to know about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I feel like I feel the same way. Again, that it's always Friday or always Monday, and it's kind of like doing your laundry. Like it's never ending in some aspect. And yeah, so I kind of feel the same way. Do you have like a specific example that's something that really bothers you? Like, I just hate Mondays, or is it like the speed at which people, like what is bothering you?
It's hard to point out specifically one thing that's bothering me. It seems to be that sort of all aspects of society have, like you said, all at once pushed the fast forward button, and you don't have to go to like sort of make sure that you catch up in this one area, but everywhere all at once. And I think it also intrigues me, the question that we seem to be forgetting sometimes, maybe, I don't know, it's just a thought in my head, but like 100 years ago or 200 years ago, there was nothing digital, and well, people had more simpler, between brackets, jobs, and we still have those same brains as those people. But society in, 50 years, not even 50, like when I was a young kid, there were barely like nice, good working computers. So I'm 25 right now. So let's say in the last 20 years, society has so dramatically changed, but our brains are still these old, let's say computers. and they're not used to this speed, I think.
I think that's an interesting take. I think you can also, I mean, if you think back, right, to before civilization and before, right, we had cities and things like that. We are the same humans who were like building fires, right, and the same humans
exactly.
who were like hunting animals to live, and we're not really any different. And although I think it might feel that way, that we're like, ooh, civilized, but in reality, we're not. And I do think that's a really interesting thing to think about, that maybe we weren't meant to live this way. Like, we weren't meant to have the technology and taking in all of this information digitally. Maybe, you know, like you said, like it is moving too fast. Or something. Do you also feel that way with technology, at least, that it's like not meant to be this way, or maybe it is?
I personally feel technology has a different impact, and it has really changed in the past 10 or 15 years, from the first buttoned up phone to like the best touch screens. It has really changed, and if you don't shape up and follow the trend, you're left behind totally. And I think in one of the, or the other, the being left behind affects many people in a way, because of the pressures and everything. I have to be having a computer as close as good as yours, or I have to have a phone that can at least take a good photo, or else my phone will always be like, what are you having in your pockets, for instance. But I think technology-wise, it's really changed in the past. Now and where we're going, I don't even think we are ready for it, for sure.
But I also feel like people are aware of this problem. People know that it's going so fast. People know that some things are just not good for their mental health, like social media and just the technology, your phone, and also a lot has to do indeed with technology and digitally being connected all of the time. And there seems to be like, okay, people are aware of this, but somehow, because there's always something added to it, we're sort of in a sort of we are split up between, we want to draw back from all this because it's not healthy for us, but at the same time we were also interested in where everything is going.
Yeah.
And that part of us that seems interested and wants to sort of catch up with all the new exciting things, because maybe it's just like this instant satisfaction that you have, seems always to win it from that part of us that knows that actually the best thing for us to do is sit back and invite maybe a little more silence and peace and calm into our lives.
I feel like there's kind of this pros and cons to technology, right? You can have the pros of being connected to your friends from around the world and FaceTiming your grandma and finding new updates on things that you want to know about. For example, like a concert. Like, I don't know where I would find a concert if it was not on Instagram. Like, is it by, would it be like mail, like snail mail, like come to here, you know what I mean?
How did people do that in the 80s? Like, there were the biggest bands ever. Like, but how did people even know that like this big band came to town? I mean, like sometimes
would
it's
it be TV?
Yeah.
Or would it be like radio?
Posters in the
Probably.
street?
Or maybe posters
I
around.
think we need to invite someone older on the podcast to answer that question for us.
Maybe, probably.
Yeah.
But it is funny, right? Like we can't even. It's even hard to imagine for us.
Exactly. Yeah.
How we would know about all these things that have been there in the past, that are still there. But how did people know about them?
And but then also they did know about it somehow. Somehow they communicated, right?
Exactly.
Back then by clicking sticks together and then they made food. So
it sort of worked. So do we really need these phones actually? Like
we don't. Just
yeah.
we do.
Well, exactly.
But
And there was
Okay.
less anxiety and less depression, so let's all just go back to posters. And
Do you think that is the solution to this, your feeling of like Earth is moving too fast? Do you think we should just all throw our phones in the trash and call it a day?
No. No, because you cannot go back. But it's like I often think, it's not about what it is. Like the thing itself is not the problem, but how you use it. And because everything is very, very new to us, we're still really figuring out how to use these things. But it's also developing, like, all of the time. New stuff is added to it. So yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah. So do you think like if we figured out how to educate people on how to use technology properly and in a healthy way, do you think that would be beneficial? Like, for example, in Denmark, right, they have a law in other places that kids cannot use their phones in school. Like, that's not a thing in America, but that's the rule. Like, you cannot have your phone at all. You cannot use your phone. Do you think that's like a step in the right direction? Or is that like, I don't know, or maybe it's just something that we're trying again, like as humans trying to figure out how to use the technology that we developed, but we don't really know how.
I don't think that's a really big positive, but it helps in a way to minimize, especially among young kids, teens. It really would help, given they still have a developing brain and have chances to go out there and play with their friends, read books and stuff. I think that is a positive sign in the right direction. But at the same time, the things that the kids are deprived of, some of the kids have them at home. So it creates like a feeling of competition among the kids, a feeling of, I want to be like my friend who has a phone all through, or I want to be like my brother who's in high school and who has a phone. But at the same time, I think minimizing the use of the technology for the kids would be a positive direction in the right way, given for most of us, we grew up with phones, having the opportunity to go on Instagram when you're still maybe 14, 15. And right now, Instagram has become like the call button, because the first thing you ask your friend is, what's your Instagram? Or what, instead of what's your contact, right now it's more of what's your TikTok, what's your Instagram? And it's become part of our lives. So cutting down on our part has to come from ourselves, not from a second or third party telling us this is what you do and this is how you can change. But on the younger generation, I think the best way is to minimize and cut down on the technology a bit.
Okay. So you think like the best thing to do would be to like reflect on yourself and what you can do about your own usage and how it's affecting yourself and things like that.
The first step is charity begins at home. So
Yeah.
you have to do
Acknowledging
it
you
first.
have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I think if schools sort of outlaw indeed mobile phones to young kids, they from a very early age are given a signal, oh, a mobile phone is not a very innocent thing. And they will take that with them for the rest of their lives. They will always think, okay, like in school, it was prohibited to have your mobile phone, so there must be some aspect that I have to keep an eye out for, you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you for your answers for that. And thank you for bringing up that topic. And Morgan, do you have something else that you would like to talk about?
Personally, I feel we've lost a personal connection and personal interaction. Now we choose to mostly use our phones to interact with the person next to you. You'll choose to text your roommate, where are you right now, instead of maybe looking for them. And I think we've lost the social and personal engagement. We don't have the curious facial expressions we had. Ever since the pandemic hit us, um, people have been more reserved and tended to push back into their bubble compared to going out there. And that's how I feel. I don't know how it has affected you guys since I was in a different country, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
I think all of our pandemic experiences were probably very different. But do you feel the same, Giannis, as Morgan, that it was kind of after the pandemic you felt like people didn't know how to socialize anymore?
Uh, phew, mm, that's a good question. Nothing really comes to mind, as in people didn't really know how to socialize anymore. Because to me personally, I got closer to some friends that I hadn't been in touch with for a long time, just because, yeah, you were alone, or maybe you were just living with your family at home, but at the same time, you always also wanted to leave there now and then. And from that perspective, I started, or other people started reaching out to me, or me to other people. And so, yeah, for me, it wasn't very much like a very lonely time.
So I feel like I hear that story from a lot of people, right? So that one side of the coin, there's a lot of loneliness that comes with isolation with the pandemic. But for a lot of people, maybe that loneliness was a good like pause on life, or that allowed for reconnecting with family and friends that you didn't previously had the time or the, or that you wanted to, or something like that. Do you think, Morgan, that it has affected more people like negatively overall? Would you say, or maybe you're not too sure?
Um, Personally, I'm from a culture where we do more physical interactions. We talk more. We ask friends questions. We make friends from bus stops. But I feel ever since the pandemic hit, people are more of I don't feel like interacting with you so much. Let me keep my distance. People have that social boundary they created over the course of the year or two that we all were locked away. So I feel they are negatively affected in a very big way. Now people prefer to make online friends because I cannot meet you. I can't like face you. I can't know when you're angry. I can't know when I'm making you sad or something like that. Because at the online distance, it's more of, hey, how are you? How's the day going? And then we'll maybe talk after a week or something. And I feel that has made the naturality of interaction get lost. People don't interact in the natural way they used to do because, for instance, personally, I moved to Europe, and the first thing I experienced was talking to a person in the public transport. You are the weird person. So I feel like it's a totally different thing compared to where I was and how I had experienced it prior to the COVID period. And having that seclusion and everything makes you feel like, am I okay? Is everything okay with me? And that tends to bring out the loneliness part of it in life. People don't want to go out because I'm afraid. How will the other person think about me? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'd see that. And do you feel like there's a solution to this, like post-pandemic? Both like Giannis and Morgan, do you feel like there's something that we can do about this post-pandemic isolation, or something with technology moving too fast, or texting our friends, or
I feel like it might be a problem that would hopefully maybe solve itself also a little bit, from individual to individual, because I think if you very hesitant about approaching another person, and having that social interaction, that means you'll get more and more lonely and lonely. And as we know, like, we are social creatures. It's to feel safe. We need that social interaction. So if you're not able to do that, then you will feel less and less well. And eventually, I think maybe it will just reach some point where you just feel so lonely, maybe, and you just throw yourself into the world, hopefully. But okay, no, maybe
there's
bit by bit,
there's a breaking point, right?
Yeah,
in human
exactly.
loneliness that we
Yeah.
just like crush our phones and be done.
Exactly.
Maybe give it 10 years.
something like that. Yeah.
I hope so.
But also what you said about, like, you came to Europe and then you approached somebody publicly, but do you think that was because of pandemic consequences, or could it also have been just a cultural difference? Because I think in Europe, also in Belgium, like, approaching someone pre-pandemic and just starting talking to them would always be kind of a surprise to people.
I feel it's a mix of both, because now with keep 1 meter away from me, everyone is like, why do you even want to talk to me? Like, why do you want to be close to me? So it's a mixture of both, and also culture-wise, because with my culture, it's also impacted my culture in a way, the pandemic, because people are now going into dating apps, which was an uncommon thing, which is a new thing. So I feel people don't have the courage to approach someone and say what they have in mind, because they feel hiding behind the screen, or maybe being behind the screen, is more of a bulletproof wall for you. It protects you from the other person's maybe eye contact, how they would maybe react when you tell them with their mouth, or maybe how they would laugh, or maybe how their laughter comes out. It's totally different. So people have gone to hide behind the screens mostly. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your wonderful thoughts today. Unfortunately, our time has come to an end. It was wonderful hearing your thoughts and ideas, and I'm glad you could be here. And I hope your great grandchildren enjoy this as much as I did. It's time to say goodbye now and farewell.
Goodbye,
Bye-bye.
great grandchildren.
You forgot one. Great.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.